As advertised, here we are with the dag end of the Outsiders and maybe first Moondog. Dunno.
By the way, to what the Treasurer Scott Morrison said earlier in the week.
We are so opposed to the idea that you lift government spending by lifting taxes. That only weakens the national economy. It doesn't support jobs and growth in Australia. It increases our level of debt and deficit. It doesn't reduce it. And that's why we're so focused on this budget and getting these things right.
Jason, Moody's just fired a shot across Australia's economic bow. What should the response be?
Yeah, everyone's using that metaphor, the shot across the bow.
I'll admit I plagiarized it, yes.
I mean, that's all it is, right? I mean, these things don't really matter that much. It's mostly, it's not the end of the world. America's got a rating that's just AA. The main thing that happens now is that this gives Scott Morrison hopefully the strength and the backing to try and make the spending cuts and reforms that he wants to do. Now that's going to be hard, and that's what Moody's were suggesting, but that is the right outcome here.
Well, that's got a lot to do with the absolute mess that the Liberal Party's in. It's actually become ungovernable, where the hard right are fighting further against the moderates than they are against the Labor Party. It's the old thing of there's the opposition and the enemy is within their own party. They've actually become ungovernable, which is why they get this constant mixed messages coming out and everybody contradicting each other. I don't see how they can form any kind of cohesive government when they're so focused on fighting each other.
But this is a topic which kind of goes beyond that. This is about tax raises, right? At the end of the day, it becomes about
but they're
tax
even fighting about how they're going to do that. You know, Cormann comes out and makes the correct. Oh no, I think what he actually meant to say was it's just ridiculous.
Is there a public appetite at all for tax raises? If the Moody's ratings were an issue, genuinely, would people be okay, you can raise the taxes a little bit? Would that be a possibility?
Australia is a very high taxing country. We have a small number of people that pay a huge amount of tax. There's a large number of people that don't pay any tax at all, or just as net taxpayers.
And you're talking about the big companies that don't pay tax.
Australia's corporate tax rates are extremely high. There's enormous amounts of revenue generated there.
Like those
compared to
1,500 companies that didn't pay any tax. You weren't referring to them though.
Tax minimization is not illegal.
No, that's a really good excuse. In the last, since 1974, the top 10% of earners have had their income increase over 70%. The bottom 10% has been, 24%? So the wealth disparity in Australia has massively increased over the last 30 years. And when we see things like the 1,500 companies not paying any tax at all because of perfectly legal tax loopholes, and hear people talking about, well, the workers have got to pay more while we cut services, I don't think you're going to be able to persuade the electorate of that.
That is unfortunately a place where I have to kind of wrap it up, because there's a bigger debate that we can get into, but we just don't have the time for that. Thank you for joining me. That was Jane Gilmore, writing feminist. We have Jason Potts, professor of economics, finance, and marketing at RMIT, also adjunct fellow at the IPA, and Sanchila Chingaipe, SBS World News journalist. I'm Sammy Shah, filling in for Jonathan Green. You're listening to Sunday Extra here on RN. Well, we do have to wrap that up now and move on. And with me, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so that's 2 weeks in a row that Jonathan Green hasn't been there. 2 weeks in a row with no first dog on the moon. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. That 60 Minutes Lebanese kidnapping thing is just mind-numbing. 60 Minutes gave the desperate mother 120,000 American dollars, apparently. 150,000 Australian dollars gets talked about, so 125,000 American dollars. And she's given that to them so that, or she's been given that so that she could hire a kidnapping team. And she wanders around and she finds, or somebody puts her in touch with, an Australian ex-SAS soldier who has a boat at a luxury marina in Lebanon. And the story is that he's got a team of experts who will go and do the job. But the story is also that he has personally been arrested in 3 surrounding neighbouring countries trying to do this before, and 2 of his previous clients are in jail in 2 of those countries where he failed to kidnap their kids properly, couldn't make it stick, or it didn't go right. So I think there's 9 people in jail at the moment. You know, there'll be 4 people who were recovering the kids, the Australian expert kid recoverer, the 4 news crew, plus the mother. Or maybe the expert SAS child recovery agent is still on his boat. 4 plus 4 plus 1. Yeah, the mother's in jail, he's not. I hadn't done the maths on it before starting to open my mouth. I think the mother should stay in jail, and that way the children will be able to visit her in Lebanon. The issue is that Lebanon is a country that used to be a French colony, and because it was a French colony, its legal system is based on the Napoleonic Code of Justice. The legal system in Lebanon is not based on the Magna Carta or parliamentary democracy or the Westminster system or anything that Australians are used to when it comes to legal systems. You'll find that in Spain and in Portugal, probably Brazil, definitely Argentina, Chile, any of those countries which were colonized by, what do they call them, the Romantic languages, people who speak derivatives of Latin rather than English. If your country was colonized by that, you're going to wind up with a Napoleonic Code of Justice. And under the Napoleonic Code of Justice, the children belong to the father. And if the child's father dies, that does not mean that they suddenly belong to the mother. It means they belong to their father's father. It's got nothing to do with whether you're a Muslim country. There are Muslims in Lebanon. There's also Christians in Lebanon. Argentina is a predominantly Christian country. And I know of Australian women who've had children with Argentinian men, and they've been deeply upset when old mate goes back to Argentina with the kid and then says, the kid's not coming back to Australia because they are the property of the father in any country that has this Napoleonic Code of Justice. And yeah, I think there's a very definite white-bread racist undertone to this, or not even an undertone. It's up front. It's part of the package. The idea is that this white woman's white Australian children have been kidnapped by some wicked, evil, scurvy dog from the Middle East, and these white Australian soldiers are going to go back and kidnap the kid, or white Australian ex-soldiers. It's bloody disgusting. And the 60 Minutes audience is expecting them to be let off because, oh, well, you know, they tried. And that, as for that idiot bloody woman commentator saying that, oh, she fully understands any parent who wants to go and do whatever they can, whether it's legal or not. I can remember my 3-year-old daughter sitting in the back seat of my mother-in-law's car out the front of the courthouse while I knew that there was no orders at that time afoot concerning any of my children. No orders had been applied for or made. I knew my estranged wife was in the building applying for paperwork to start the court process running. And I knew that legally, lawfully, I was entitled to open the back door of that car and pull my child out of the back seat. And that then the mother-in-law would notice what was happening, and that then she'd get out on the footpath and there would be a screaming, shouting match, and it would escalate from there. And my decision was that I should not subject my child to such an acrimonious shit fight in the middle of a public place, let alone, you know, subject them to it at all. So I didn't do it. And as a result of that, I didn't see my kid for 3 months. Until finally, you know, the paperwork that the opposition was filing had cranked up and caused court cases. And yeah, eventually the court let me have my kids back again. This woman from Queensland, she had a really red hot Australian family court order giving her total full custody of the children. And she went to Lebanon, and instead of presenting her Australian family court order to the Lebanese authorities and saying, what can you do to help me resolve this situation, she went and hired thugs to kidnap her children because she's white and, you know, they're just scurvy dogs from the Middle East, you know. The judge who's got this bloody mess on his desk is reputed to have had a look at the Australian Family Court order and expressed his strong dismay that it could not be taken into account in the proceedings because the mother had not registered the Australian Family Court decision or orders with the Lebanese authority. You see, there is, our government says, oh, they're forming a high-level commission to discuss these matters. No, that's bullshit. They already had a high-level committee to deal with all these measures. The fact is the woman, Sally Faulkner, didn't file her Australian court orders with the committee that previously existed to sort this shit out. I don't know why she didn't think of doing that. I mean, if there is a legal mechanism, it's always better to use the law before you decide that you're going to ignore the law and break the law. You know, if there's a hamburger in a shop, it's better to go in and offer to pay for it than to break the bloody window and try and steal it. I can't see any better resolution to this one than putting the mother in jail in Lebanon for kidnapping and probably jail the camera crew for being accessories before and during and after the fact of child kidnapping. Hit the bastards as hard as you can with the biggest, fattest legal book that you've got. And maybe, perhaps, possibly, it might educate other people who are in similar situations, and it might train them up to the idea that, A, it's a dumb idea to marry into a culture that you don't understand, and B, if you've married into a culture that you don't understand and you're having a dispute, it helps if you stay within the limits of the law. If you decide that you're going to go and knock a grandmother to the ground on a public street under a security camera, there's no way you can expect not to be treated as the criminal that you have become. And that's the situation for that idiot Queensland woman. I have no sympathy for her because I've been in an approximately similar position. And you know what I did? I went down to the post office and I said, can I pretty please have the application form to put a stop on my children being given a passport, so that when the other parent decides to apply for a passport to take my kid out of the country on holidays, and my missus was born in England and her parents come from Germany and Hungary, she could have gone bloody anywhere. I don't own a passport. I grew up in Australia. I got no hope of swimming out after my kids go overseas. So no, I just stopped the passport. Wait until the kids turn 18, and if they want to get a passport and go overseas, they can do it. They never did though. 25 and 26, and neither one of them's been outside Australia. You know, there are ways of dealing with these disputes that are lawful. You don't have to go and hire a bloody gunman with a TV crew's money so that they can make a public spectacle of you breaking the law in a foreign land. So anyway, that's been the week in Australia. Oh, and by the way, extreme drug-resistant tuberculosis is out of control on an island between New Guinea and Australia. And Australia can't be bothered sending any regional medical help because we think sort of what they call Ebola with wings would be a really cool thing if it just spread around the world, you know, from a bit of the planet that Australia's kind of colonially, traditionally been responsible for. Oh dear. And as these crew were saying on the Outsiders, the Australian Liberal National Coalition can't govern itself. It contradicts itself on a regular basis, multiple times a week. And all of their ideas basically involve crashing the economy and screwing the workers and trashing what's left of the environment. And they've got no idea what to do about the barrier reef because they're trying to open new coal mines and 90% of the barrier reef is dead at the moment because of El Nino and the high water temperatures. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. We are right on the uploading of the limit. So I guess you're going to get 15 seconds of an alpha male swamp wallaby and then I'm going to have to call a halt to the video. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Mr. Whitetail says ciao.